It's a bad week for the Irish. We're all in mourning, and that's why I'm wearing the black of the London Irish centenary shirt. And it's a bad week because Conor McGregor lost to Khabib in the UFC, just as I predicted, funnily enough. I said round 4, I said submission for Khabib. I didn't say which method of submission, but I guess rear naked choke is as good as any. It's a very high success rate submission hold, and it didn't seem to be that deep in. He sort of had it on the chin. It wasn't really deep into the neck, and some people are saying that that's a sign that Conor McGregor just gave up and he tapped. His heart gave up before he went unconscious. But it was a grueling 4 rounds up to that point. Khabib dominated just about every round. There were moments where I thought Conor might get the better of the stand-up exchanges. I think Conor's only hope in this whole fight and in the whole campaign was if he could get inside the mind of Khabib, and we'll talk about that shortly. Perhaps he could goad him into standing toe-to-toe and doing some kind of stand and trade and making Khabib want to beat him at his own game, because they were both digging at each other's character and it was a whole bravado thing. So sometimes a fighter will not just want to win, but he will want to humiliate the other guy. And in MMA, that's a very dangerous place to be mentally, because there are many ways you can win and many ways you can lose. And if you switch off for a second, a knockout artist like Conor McGregor can knock you out, and a submission master like Khabib can get hold of you. He can wrap your legs up as he did on the night, and then you are just drowning until that submission came. But I honestly believe any real fighter with any brains should always finish the fight as quickly as he can, and there can't be any sort of bravado. Oh, I'm going to torture him, oh, I'm going to bully him. If you see that submission, if you see that knockout, you have to go for it. You have to take your chance, and Khabib's chance came in round 4. And unfortunately, the aftermath of the fight has seriously detracted from the fight in and of itself. To sum up the fight, I'll say Khabib won every round. I know Conor rallied in about round 3 and he caught him a couple of times, but look, Khabib knocked him down. Khabib put him down with a shot. That has to be psychologically devastating for Conor McGregor, who's meant to be the best striker in the UFC. He got caught and he got put down. So that shows us that Khabib has got power in his hands in terms of punching, not just the grappling side of things. He doesn't tire out. He's a machine. The commentators on the night, watching it with the American commentary, they were very, very biased in favour of Conor, and they were somehow imagining that this was some kind of Ali type of rope-a-dope, and that McGregor was going to lay on the floor for 2 rounds and let Khabib tire himself out. The guy's a machine. He does not get tired. You're not going to catch him like that. I've only seen a few of Khabib's fights, and I've seen other fighters give him much more trouble and much more difficulty than Conor McGregor did. And that's difficult for me to say. And I am biased, as you may tell from the flag in the background. And I guess now it's time to talk about the aftermath and the brawl that ensued when Khabib jumped into the audience. I watched that fight from a biased point of view, a biased perspective, and as much as I predicted Khabib to win, I knew that Conor, I was rooting for Conor, and I knew that Khabib was more likely to win. Most people, when you ask them, what do you think is going to happen in a sporting event? They tell you what they hope will happen. They tell you what they want to happen. Whenever you pitch up at the FA Cup and you interview the fans of some lower team, I don't know, Aldershot, who have managed to get to the third round of the FA Cup, and you ask them what they're going to do against Chelsea, they'll say, yeah, we're going to win 5-0. I know that's not the reality. I was hoping Conor McGregor would win, and an MMA coach once told me, you might not be the favourite to win, but there will be a way that you can win. And you can know in yourself that you can find that way. There's no doubt. Conor McGregor could have won. He could have found that way. His way would have been catching Khabib as he came in for the takedown, but he couldn't find that way. Khabib was too smooth, too slick, too quick when he came in on the exchange, and I think when he stood toe-to-toe with him and did have that exchange, I don't think that was bravado. I think it was a ploy to make Conor switch off and forget about the takedown. Conor's takedown defence is good. I mean, that's how he succeeds in his stand-up, is by keeping it standing up. And you can't keep the fight standing up unless you have a good takedown defence. In the early days of UFC, all the jiu-jitsu guys were dominating and were winning. The Gracies won the first several UFCs because the strikers didn't have the takedown defence. And it doesn't matter if you're not brilliant at jiu-jitsu if you're a good striker with great takedown defence. But as great as it is, Conor's takedown defence was not great enough, and Khabib took him down. And I know I've seen statistics about Khabib pulling off something like 21 takedowns in one fight, and he's such a prolific takedown artist. But if you take a guy down 21 times, surely that means he got up 20 times. But as another MMA coach once said to me, when you take a guy down, the man who gets up is half the man. It's such an effort to get back up. It's so physically draining. And if your stamina and fitness is at Conor McGregor's level, i.e. perhaps not as high as it should be, especially after a 2-year layoff away from the octagon, then you are going to be half the man or less when you get back up. And McGregor was certainly blowing, and certainly the fitness and the stamina problem was starting to show again. Take nothing away from Khabib, he's a machine, and his fitness is a different level. He is just a non-stop Duracell bunny that keeps coming forward, and he didn't rush in. He knew he had all night to get that submission, and it came in round 4, just as I predicted. But unfortunately, because of the nature of the fight and the nature of what happened, we have to look at the bigger picture, and once again, sport has mixed with politics and religion. Now, I support Conor McGregor. That's because he's Irish and I have Irish heritage. There you go. So I'm not saying Conor McGregor is a great guy. I'm not saying he's right all the time. I'm saying he's from the same country that my family are from, therefore I like him. When you put it like that, that sounds a little bit stupid. But nationalism and sport have always come together, and I think that's quite healthy. I think it's good when the World Cup comes to different countries and different fans from different cultural backgrounds, from different continents, come together and enjoy sport. So, Khabib is from Russia, so naturally a lot of Russians would support him. However, Khabib is from an autonomous region in Russia, Dagestan, which is majority Muslim. And Khabib is a Muslim. And for that reason, a lot of Muslims have been behind Khabib and supporting him. And I think that's dangerous. If you support someone because of their religion, religions are supposed to be perfect. Now, initially, Khabib was actually quite a good ambassador for Muslims and Islam, so it seemed. On camera, he was very calm, very relaxed and composed, the way that a martial artist is supposed to be. And prior to all the UFC and mixed martial arts, the most famous martial artist was, and perhaps still is, Bruce Lee, who had total control of his body and total control of his mind. Nothing could faze him. And of course, there are many hadiths that talk about the importance of controlling your anger, not lashing out, staying calm, and wrestling with your own nafs rather than wrestling and overpowering other people. And that's great, because Khabib was showing that composure. And Conor tried to pick on him because of his religion. Did he explicitly say anything about Islam? I've heard people say, oh, Conor never mentioned religion, he never mentioned his religion. Well, he promoted his whiskey and he offered it to Khabib in an aggressive manner, knowing full well that as a Muslim, Khabib doesn't drink alcohol, and Conor provokingly asked him, why don't you drink? Why don't you drink? That, I would say, was having a pop at his religion. The other times where he had a go at members of Khabib's team and mentioned terrorist, well, and he asked, how's Noah? How's Noah? There are members of Khabib's team who were involved in armed activity. You can call it terrorism if you want. One of them was a double agent who worked for the CIA and perhaps ratted on his own people, or was perhaps a triple agent. And the fact that Conor was aware of that would show that he dug very deep into the backstory of Khabib, perhaps because he was scared, perhaps because he really wanted to find something to get inside Khabib's head. And as I said earlier, I think that was his only hope. I don't think he ever stood a chance of beating Khabib physically, but if you can get inside a guy's head and you can trick him into fighting your fight, well, then you can beat him mentally. And that's part of combat sport, I believe. Getting inside someone's head is part of combat sport. But the great martial artists like Bruce Lee, they are never fazed by that. Also Fedor never engaged in any kind of trash talking. He was always calm. He would touch gloves. Sometimes he wasn't even looking the guy in the eyes. He was never trying to intimidate the other guy, because he himself was unintimidatable, if that's a word. He was so in the zone. And Khabib had that character. He had that aura of impenetrable confidence. And he had it right up until the end of the fourth round, or rather right up until the moment when Conor McGregor tapped, and when he won the fight, he lost the mentality. And I've seen people justifying it, making excuses for him, making 101 excuses. Oh, there must have been a reason. He jumped into the crowd, and now everyone is talking about that rather than his superb performance. Dana White didn't even put the belt around his waist. He may even be stripped of the title. He may even be denied the right to be a champion and defend that belt. The match itself could even be ruled a no contest. It's happened before when winners have stomped on the loser just as the match is finished. And in fact, the first thing Khabib did when he won was to spit on Conor McGregor. And that's a low. That is not sportsmanlike. I would say, who am I to say, but I would say that's un-Islamic. That's not befitting of a Muslim, and it's a shame that somebody who has been held up as a great example of how a Muslim should conduct himself has behaved in such a way, because all the Islamophobes and the anti-Muslim people now have another weapon in their arsenal. They can say, look how they behave, look what they do. And that's the danger when you hold someone up as an ambassador for a religion that is meant to be perfect. If that person isn't perfect, and nobody is, they're never going to do the religion justice, especially if you think that religion is perfect and it came with a perfect book and a set of morals for how you should live your life. If you put someone on a pedestal and say they're a great example of religion X, they're only going to let you down. Luckily, Ireland is not a book, is not a religion, is not a set of morals. I know Irish people make mistakes. I know we are human. There are problems in Ireland. There are problems on every level of society in Ireland. I'm not pretending that Conor McGregor is somehow a great example of what it is to be an Irish person. I'm just being biased because he's from my country. But he's a super athlete, and I think he's one of the greatest sportsmen that Ireland has ever produced, along with George Best, Barry McGuigan and Steve Collins, a few others we could mention. Great Irish athletes don't come along that often. It's natural that we should get behind them. But Khabib, as an ambassador for Islam, this is the trouble. All the Muslims that were behind him from the start and were admiring him because of his Muslim belief, now that he's done what he did, it's very embarrassing. It takes a big man to backtrack and say, well, okay, he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that. I'll acknowledge Conor McGregor shouldn't have attacked the bus with a chair. Conor McGregor was punished for that. Khabib should not have jumped into the crowd, and he will be punished for that as well. And unfortunately, the sport is going to suffer because of that. Muslim people will suffer because of that. I hate to make it about religion. For me, it shouldn't be about religion, but a lot of people have made it about religion. I hope the relationship between Muslims and, I won't say Christian people because Conor McGregor is not a Christian, but Western people, Americans, Europeans, whatever you want to call it, I hope the relationship will not suffer because of that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Khabib versus McGregor. I enjoyed the fight. I didn't enjoy the aftermath. And I hope there will be a rematch. I'm biased. I hope there will be a rematch. And I hope Conor McGregor would win that rematch. But one, I don't see it happening. And two, I don't see how the fight could go any differently unless a different Conor McGregor shows up with a much slicker game plan. It's going to take one hell of an athlete to beat Khabib. Whoever that might be, I don't know. We may never see it. We may never see it in the UFC because he may have jeopardised his future fighting in that promotion. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and comment.